call to the public. Do we have anyone? No. For this meeting of the Health and Human Services Committee, it will be myself and Greg. So our first agenda item, I would entertain a motion to approve the grant agreement between the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Shiawassee County Health Department for essential local public health services in the amount of $1,473,298 for a period of 10/1/23 through 9/30/24, and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
So moved.
Support. Moved and supported, and we have.
This is just a renewal of our state funding. The first contract is our state mandated services, which are hearing and vision, immunizations, communicable disease, restaurant inspections, so on and so forth. The second one is our emerging threats public health services, and that contains the school nurse funding, which is the majority of that amount. So as you can see, these amounts add up to a large portion of our budget. So we're happy there are increases in both this year over last year.
Okay, in the school nurse, you have a nurse in every.
Yes, I've
district.
got one in all 9 districts in the county, which includes the RASD. So it's working great. We don't know if it's going to be here next year, so that budget could be much smaller.
Do you get any kind of reports, or is it just sort of word of mouth on how much business they're getting, what they're doing?
I get quarterly reports because I have to submit to the state, so I know what they're seeing and how busy they are and how thankful the school districts are for having them. So it's a big deal.
I assume
It's beyond COVID now.
in the past you've been quite satisfied that they've kept busy.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
the schools would like to get more of them, but there was only enough for one for each district, so it's up to them if they want to get more.
Okay.
Now, what about the social workers? We have.
So we have 2 social workers in, one is in Perry and one's in Durand, but that's in a separate program. That's our school wellness program, which is separate from this funding.
Right.
That will continue regardless of this funding next
Because
year.
we've had that a while,
Right,
right?
in a while, right. In the social workers, we contract with health and wellness for them, and so that's kind of a win-win for us. And it's hard to hire a social worker, to be honest.
Remind me how it happens to be in those 2 particular districts in the social work.
Because the Durand originally applied for the school wellness with us back in 2007, and the other districts weren't interested or could not apply. And then Perry came on board just a couple years ago because they were identified as a high-risk district by the RSD, and they were interested in building a program. So we applied for Perry. We would be interested in doing it with other districts, but there's a limited number of funds for those programs around the state. So right now we've got 2 of them. That's in addition to these school nurses, which are funded by this separate money. So in those districts, they have at least 2 nurses doing some of the same things, but different program. So it's good. It's pretty neat.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. That will move to tomorrow. I would entertain a motion to approve the grant agreement between the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and the Shiawassee County Health Department for public health services, emerging threats, in the amount of $1,611,718 for a period of 10/1/23 through 9/30/24, and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
So moved.
Support. Larry, do you have anything on
This
this?
is the school nurse.
Okay. All right. Anybody? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. That passes. Which brings us to our second call to the public, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good job. move into our agenda items. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the request to equip the next sheriff patrol vehicle with all necessary equipment, including lights, cage, and a radar, not to exceed $19,010.
So moved.
Support, more with support, discussion on that.
So the board purchased a Tahoe as part of the sheriff's fleet, which they have become cheaper than some of the other vehicles in recent years. And this one was purchased with ARPA funding, but we still need to equip it. And so for the lights, the cage, the radar, the computer, all of the stuff that goes with it, it is $19,000.
Which, I'm kind of surprised it's not more.
I remember a while back there was some question about the cost of doing this. That is, there were different possible bidders on that. I assume the sheriff has looked at this and this is what he wants. So we're certainly not going to question the sheriff on this. His
They
budget.
did the bidding for the police cruisers and those things, and they have a standard person they use for the outfitting.
That's what I was gonna ask, just out of curiosity, who does it?
Good question, I don't know off the top of my head.
Are they around?
Mid-Michigan Equipment,
Oh.
quote,
Where-
Agnew Graphics and Custom Signals Radar.
Okay,
So it's 3 separate vendors.
all right. Not that it matters.
Well, and I think we absolutely need this car
Oh,
or
of
vehicle
course.
out on the road, because it's not doing us any good without, you know, to have the vehicle but not have it equipped as a patrol vehicle.
Nothing else? In that case, all in favor of approving this item, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, and that moves on to Wednesday. Now I will entertain a motion to approve the grant from Mid-State Health Network for Shiawassee County Probate and Family Court for in-home prevention programs and authorize the chair to execute the same.
So moved.
And we'll support that. Sarah, I'll bet you have something to say.
Yes. This is the MSHN grant. It is a very long-standing grant with our court. It is our only prevention program, which I wish there was more prevention as opposed to acting after the fact. But again, this is a 100% grant funded program. We identify, as it requires, that we identify court-involved families who have a history of substance abuse, either drugs, alcohol, what have you. And then our prevention worker goes in, works with the juvenile to try to prevent, you know, the circle, if you will, and to prevent, you know, ongoing use and everything else. And we see great results because MSHN, we have these pre and post surveys we take, and it really is effective. It also acts as somewhat of a mentoring, as opposed to like our probation officers who are more punitive, if you will, even though they do try to be somewhat mentoring. This is a real mentor kind of program, and they really take the kids under their wing, and it's a really, really good program. Like I said, I think it's been around for 20 years. It predates my employment over there. It's just a great grant, and it's zero money to the county.
Is this triggered by, if you get involved, when there's been some complaint either from the police or CPS or?
No, this is more of families who already have a juvenile in our system, juvenile delinquent. This is juvenile delinquency.
Okay,
But they work with, you know, the siblings and the family, but.
so the court's already involved because.
Court's already involved, but it's preventing, so it's not preventing court involvement, but it is hopefully preventing the substance use, you know, cycle, if you will, within the family.
All right.
Or to eradicate it if it's there, but the bigger hope is to prevent it, which is why it's a prevention program.
Sarah, you said it was zero cost to the county, but your agenda request form says $16,000.
That's what our, I don't know how you put that, that's what our budget with them is for the year. It's, yeah.
That doesn't seem like much.
Well, he just works part-time in the evenings. This is a straight-up evening thing, and he only carries a caseload of maybe 3 or 4, because he's really intensive. He goes out multiple times a week. I mean, it's a real intensive program, but he only works about 10 hours. It's not a full-time, you know, grant. It's always been a part-time thing. And we really carefully choose the kids' families that we have him work with.
The best chance of success.
Yeah,
or-
yeah, we really are selective in who they, you know, who they work with. Because, I mean, a lot of our kids don't necessarily have substance, a lot of it's mental health, and this doesn't cover that, but this is straight substance. So, yeah,
Right.
So it's not a huge grant by any stretch, and it's, like I said, it's just a part-time position.
But still, the mentoring, that's
It's
that's
huge,
huge,
and,
yeah.
and the MSN, what MSHN allows us to do, they allow him to take him to the movies, you know, he allows them to take him on field trips and do stuff, and take them out to eat, you know, as little rewards, and so it's a really great thing, because frankly, that's not the kind of money that you have, you know, the county doesn't have the money to, you know, we don't have money to take our kids out to eat or to take them to the movies. It happens, but it happens with our own money, you know. So it's nice to have that built into this sort of mentoring and prevention program for these families that we really feel like he can make a difference. He's really great with kids. He's long-term.
Yeah, and kids don't forget that, do they?
No, everybody knows Jim Roper, that he's a great guy, and he's been doing it the whole time when he's been here for a long time,
Ever?
pretty much. In excess of 20 years for sure, I'd say.
Thank you, Sarah.
Any other
Any
questions?
other questions or comments? All in favor of approving this to move on to Wednesday, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Thank
That moves on. Thank you, Sarah. Second call to public. Anyone want to speak? In that case, we're adjourned.